So what's going on? So this was going to be the review of Prince's album Originals, and you know, I used to listen to a lot of him during his peak in his prime, especially in the '80s. I was very much into that Purple Kool-Aid and that sound. I ventured off over time. I still held him high regards as a live act, but his prime and his peak to me, I'd say generally 80, 85, 80 through 85 is when the sound, everything was on point, and up to 87, he still was still bringing up top tier stuff to me. But I thought as a live performer, he lasted longer, um, record wise. But anyway, this is just gonna kind of be like a surmise of what I'm the originals. And usually when an artist is a songwriter, because and I say this in this sense, Prince wasn't traditional in your standard songwriting aspect, in that his musicality and the production and arrangements dictated a lot of the songs, because he had his, especially with the Lin drum programming and the way he fused the synthesizers, and he used his keyboards, and he kept his bass at a minimum, and how he would interject his different things and what he did with his background vocals and harmonies. He didn't go from a traditional standpoint, so he took a different approach, and he took great liberties in different ways that he would his use his concepts. So it makes for an interesting take. When I um, think about this record that comes right now, I don't know, I look at the different songs. I'm trying to think off the top, because just looking about listening to the record, what I thought stood out, what didn't. Um, I think that like when you hear like like the beat, when you hear like certain songs, you can hear the progression of his sound, which is definitely influential to this day, you know. But I don't think that some of the songs worked. Um, I remember hearing "You're My Love" bought the tape. Kenny Rogers don't make them like they used to, and he wrote that on the pseudonym Joey Coco. And it was, and I like the Elder Barge background vocals part a lot. And it was good. It was decent for Kenny Rogers, but it was pretty simplistic. It was a real simple song. It didn't even sound like something Prince would do. Like, it's one of those kind of songs I didn't even hear Prince singing something like that till he did the song "Graffiti Bridge," because it was so elementary for him. And then when he did "Diamonds and Pearls," it's like he was going into more an adult contemporary. But at that time, you didn't associate Prince with writing something that was like gooey ooey, so that sort of thing. Um, Him covering "Sex Shooter" is comical as put out, because the sound, but it didn't really, it really didn't work. It worked better for Apollonia 6, and it's hard to say that because she was one non-singing chick, but she'd be perfect today. Like, and I always said that something about Prince. One of the things that hurt him to me as a producer is that he worked with a lot of less than talented female artists. But if he came out today with what he did with the sound, and you could just sell the production and the groove, oh, he'd have been stellar. But that was one of them that didn't work. Um, Listening to the stuff with Sheila, Noon Rendezvous, the '84 live version was still stellar. The musicality, that's one of them songs that could have worked really well. Dear Michelangelo, love the progressive build up and work, but I think Sheila E., I have to give her the edge on that one, on that one in particular. With that, Glamorous Life is interesting. Now, it is missing Sheila's percussion on the original with the demo. But I will say this: Prince's the guide track that he does is real simple and it works. It's just like one of those straightforward things and it works. So I think that that one works out fairly cool. But I still think that Sheila was his most important talent scout. She brought a lot of great talent from the Bay, you know, and she enhanced uh, what he had. So as far as from the sound perspective. Love That Will Be Done. This thing about Martika, just off the top of the head, that beat was used somewhat for another level holding here, the slow down version beat, and then One of Us from his Emancipation album. Martika was middle of the road. It was a decent cut. I don't really think that you can really do one way or the other about that. Um, Manic Monday, it sounded pretty standard on this record. I thought the Bangles production was better. I heard different versions over the years. Um, it's a real clever pop song. It uses the melody from 1999, also the Mamas and the Papas, Monday. It's a throwback type of thing, but it's not something that I would break my neck for. The time tracks, just off the top. Jungle Love worked better with the time with Morris and Jesse, and it added more to it. So I really wasn't really a Prince's thing on that per se. But Gigolos Get Lonely too. 82 production. Prince could do no wrong as far as I'm concerned. I think that was his best year as a producer. If I'm going to be keeping it 100, I think he did the thing on that one. Baby You're a Trip with Jill Jones. I like Jill Jones. I think Jill Jones did her best Etta James impersonation. But Prince did it. Prince did the song justice, but again, it's one of them songs that he has other stronger slow jams. So it depends on what vibe you're looking for. It really does. It depends on what vibe you're looking for. When You Love to Love Me, which was given to Taja Seville, originally offered to Michael Jackson, and it was it's a decent groove and everything. Taja had commercial appeal, though not the voice range of Jill Jones, but she had appeal. Can't really say, it's cool. It's cool. It's cool. It's not great or nothing like that, you know. One of the things I'm gonna say is this: these songs don't necessarily, to me, on the whole, represent Prince in the best light as a songwriter, but they show his creativity and his versatility as a musician. So there's not, and it's kind of an odd mix when you think about it. And there's definitely other songs that, if they were going to pull, then they would complement. And I'm not a really big fan of digging albums out of vaults because I usually just think that when artists are gone, the only artist that I think that's got some interesting vault stuff when they are deceased, that would probably be Stevie Wonder because I think there's some stuff from that magical 70s period. And I've heard a couple of things that are really distinctive. But most artists, they pretty much give you all they got. Just like with Michael Jackson, Rick James, Barry White, people like that, Luther Vandross, you had gotten the goods. Whitney Houston as well. I don't think you're going to get, you might get a song or two. And the fans will like certain things. I think with Prince's thing, it's going to be more about the live stuff. I think that's the stuff that if it's not touched, they should not tamper with his stuff, or Jay-Z or whoever who has access, or any of these, the Prince Roger Nelson estate keeps the stuff in its purest sense because they don't need any modernization uh, touching up what's already been there because that sound, that synth based sound, that groove, that's what made Prince Prince. And, but having said that, the originals, I think it's decent, not great, but it showcases, he's versatile and he tapped into different things. Um, and, but you can't really, the thing about his productions is that he gave what he gave to other artists. So it's basically them following the guide track and what have you, what he did. When I think about productions that he did elsewhere, I think the family stuff would be worth, if that comes out, some of it would be interesting, and I know tracks like that, but and that sort of thing. But I don't necessarily think he would have co-signed this kind of album coming out amongst it because wasn't the kind of cat to look back. And this is more for like fans, I think. I'd say high third, middle second tier, flirting with second tier material, but not the kind of stuff that I would say that, uh, is necessarily on that level of what he had set in that, especially during his 80 peak and prime. So, but it's an interesting record and some interesting production, and of course, an instrumentation, how things set forth, and some of the trajectory with different artists. So, showcases that. Anyway, feel free to give me your take about Prince's originals, and leave comments and hit the subscribe and the bell rings. Us a new video. I'm out. Peace.